Hey guys, Tbull here. Got a new ship for you today. We got the Tier 6 German Cruiser Munchen. And you're going to be taking a bite out of the competition in this thing. Quite a lot of fun that I've had in this one so far. There's the ship build. I got prop mod in slot 2. There's the arm review. This is one of the negatives of the ship. Not the most durable guy, especially at Tier 6 when you're running into a lot of Tier 7s. But mobility-wise, it's good. And I got it set up more as an island hopper rather than a runner and gunner. You got options either way. But basically, you can think of this as like Königsberg at Tier 6, or it's more like the Nuremberg in terms of offensive performance, but much more favorable firing angles. So that's why that reminds me more of the Königsberg. In terms of mobility, 37.8 knots in the water, 690 turn radius, and 7.5 rudder shift, which is, it's better than middle of the pack. And again, in slot 2, we're running the prop mod with that setup. So you can bring that rudder shift down even more if you want to go quite dodgeable. But I like to park this one by islands, and that prop mod definitely helps in that endeavor. 150 caliber guns on these things, firing every 4.8 seconds, 4,050 damage. So it's pretty dang good AP damage, and extremely high rate of fire. The difference is, the caliber is pretty low for the tier, especially against tier 7 ships. Sometimes that can be an issue. And unlike the Americans, unlike the Russians, where you can run the EOP option on your commander build, Germans don't have that one. Now, I usually tend to focus on the AP with the Germans anyways, and the AP in this one's very strong, as we're going to see in this game. Pretty sure this is the highest damage game I've squeezed out of this thing so far, but results are not atypical. This thing's capable of a lot of damage, no doubt about it. All you got to do is stay alive throughout the match, stay in relevant positions, and it'll pile up. But the AP, I got this spec'd out. This is my standard German cruiser build. I got I got Dimitri Dewey on there, and I got Yamamoto, both AP centric perps on my build, and that's just kind of how I spec it out. So if you're running Luchins, you don't have an AP focused build, test out the AP, see how it does. If you got experience with that build, let us know in the comments. But I'm guessing the AP is probably not as savage as this build. So if you don't have this hipper Azure Lane character, I'd probably still run Von Mueller, which is what I would suggest for the German cruiser line in general. Jumping into this game here, you can see we had some deficient spotting. The guy that spawned kind of the southeast, instead of going directly into B and pulling forward to spot, kind of went the long way around the island. And I don't know if he noticed me or for whatever reason he wants to come over here, but he's going to pull up here and then smoke me up, which is cool. I mean, normally as a destroyer, I don't tend to ever use my smokes on random players, like maybe 1 out of 1,000 games. If I can tell someone would either utilize it or they really, really need it and I'm in a good mood. But usually, smoking up your random teammates, they're not going to understand how to use the smoke. They're not on the same page with you, what they're trying to do or whatever. A lot of times it's just kind of a waste, and you usually need them to protect yourself. So I appreciate it. I'm hoping we drop spot here as he pulls forth and wraps us the front end of the ship in smoke at least. But we're still getting spotted from the west, so we got to pull forward once these torps go by. Luckily, he squeezes through that torp unharmed, and then we're going to get in the smoke, drop spot. Now, the Bayhan, the problem with this play right here is you got to go forth and spot. If you're going to smoke up a cruiser like this and then just sit in the smoke and hope someone else spots for you, I mean, come on. It doesn't really matter what cruiser you're in, but especially something like this Munchen here, which is just capable of ripping damage left and right. All you got to do is pull forward, keep those ships spotted, and then you can do a lot of damage. Ideally, what he would really do is use the twist and track he's hopefully got with his Halsey build on that thing, find the destroyer that's sailing around in between A and B, spot him, and then I would, the Mayhan and this ship combined would absolutely rip him to shreds. So you can see there, we're getting a little bit frustrated at this point in time. There's no point in staying in the smoke. The guy's on B, so I'm thinking, all right, this game's not looking good just based on this deployment, and I don't want to lose our home cap. So I'm going to pull forth here in a risky endeavor, hope to spot the destroyer and kill him rapidly. But we cannot lose our home cap. You start with a cap, they got B, we got C, or whatever it is. We got B, they got A, we got B. if we lose our home cap, we lose the 3 points we're getting every 5 seconds. Now, over the course of the match, that's a lot of points. And if they not only stop our accrual of points, but put that source of income in their favor, now they're getting 6 points every 5 seconds. We're getting none. That's disastrous. That's how holes are dug, and that's how games are thrown. So I'm not really willing to throw the game right off the bat. You can see we're getting knocked around, and we're probably not long for the world at this point in time. Testing out the AP, trying to waterline Citadel of Zara. Can't tell if I'm just missing the shots or if the effectiveness of these shells against broadside cruisers at range isn't that strong. It's too early for me to tell. I'm still testing out these guns, but in general, if you're getting any penetration on these, you're going to pile up the damage very rapidly. So whether or not you can get Citadels, kind of irrelevant. I mean, you definitely can at closer ranges, but watching this back, I think maybe I should just raise up the shot a little bit and keep going with that AP whenever he's broadside, and we'll just pile up the damage here. You can see we're still trying to shoot for the Citadels. Doesn't matter. I mean, if we just hit the top of the ship, then we're going to get 1,500, 2,000. You can get 5,000 damage per salvo with this thing if you're getting penetration. So recognize that you got the lower caliber guns. Adjust the aim accordingly. If you're not getting effective results, aim up. Try and go for superstructure. Try and go for deck. Try and go for lighter armored parts of the ship, which are always higher up. Now, we were going to have to deal with that lander briefly, but the Mayhem did take him out there, which is a good play. Now that kind of frees us up. Those guys to the northeast, they're focused on, I think it's a King George up there. So that's going to give me just a moment to hopefully find this destroyer on B and kill him. I'm really hoping that Mayhem is going to turn around, get on B, stop him from capping it, and help me find that destroyer. That would be outstanding. But at last, he sails off. He's going to wind up going towards A, which I'm fine with. As long as they capture a base, it doesn't really matter if I die at this point in time. We're up 5 ships. You're probably saying to yourself, why is this video 16 minutes long or whatever? This one actually tightens up quite a bit as the game goes on. Somewhat surprisingly. I mean, this is route territory here, but they're 3v1 on that ship to the northeast. They should kill me within 1 or 2 salvos after that, and then, they still have the 2-to-1 cap advantage. So if they defended those 2 caps really effectively, and they do have the destroyer, which can potentially spot for them, I mean, it's a long shot for these guys at this point in time, but it's not out of reach, and they do actually do a pretty good job coming back here. So we're not worried about capturing the base here. I'm enjoying my time on here because that's preventing this from actively accruing points. But I'm not going to die just so I can potentially save this cap. Because what you need to understand when you're trying to riskily capture bases, either you're a destroyer, you're going to get pushed by some ship that you can see coming in from the distance, or you're thinking to yourself, I'll just stay on here. And then it turns contested and you're like, well, maybe something will happen. No, you got to recognize dying for flipping caps, especially in capture the base mode, but even in this situation, not really worth it. So, we're fine slowing down the accrual of points while it lasts, but the closer he gets to us, the more existential of a threat he poses, and we need to get the heck away from him. You can see these shots coming in here, and we don't want to be getting slammed around by these things. So, the first order of the business, we're kiting away, we're going to be shooting on reload as we do, but we need to get behind this island drop spot, then we can take up position. You can see as we're getting into that, and there the destroyer pops up. We briefly wanted to target him, but of course we didn't have the shot. Now, though, let's say we're at 50,000 here, and you're going to see the potential for dealing damage. So we go ahead and switch to the AP there. We need to pull forward just a little bit further. Don't want to hit it too hard, though, because that'll take us out of firing range. So we're just kind of drifting in there. And then the worst bite. Let's go ahead and start off with this guy. He's angling in a little bit, but he's mostly broadside. And look for the aim points out. We're trying to hit mostly superstructure, deck, upper part of the ship, and just keep an eye on these damage things there. There's about 4,000 there. Again, you're going to see anything from 1,500 to that's probably over 5,000 right there. And each one of those little segments on his health bar is 5,000 health. So if we're ringing him up for 5,000 per salvo, which isn't out of the question, that guy's going to only be alive for about a minute. So as long as you got someone spotting for you and you're protecting yourself, hopefully via island cover, Although we saw when the Gneisenau was pursuing us, we can technically do some kiting action, you know, but we don't really have the armor scheme like you would in a Megami to protect yourself, or Miyoko at tier 6, I suppose we could reference. Much more durable in the kiting position. This one just doesn't have the armor to get away with it, so if the guy's good at aim, you're probably going to die quicker. I would just rather play the island hopper strategy with this thing, but again, you know, this is just basically how the rest of this game is going to be going. Now, we don't want to be aggressive. We don't want to get on B, try and flip that, because again, we don't want to die here. We're still up, what, 3 ships, but now we're up 2 ships. You know, they're coming back here. This isn't completely out of the question. Mutsu's got a lot of health. They got a Gneisenau, which is always a problem. Warspite is actually going to get away here. I probably should have kept, you know, focusing on him at this point. I'm trying to, number one, test my shells on different ships, different armor schemes, but also just kind of farming for damage. I'm thinking, all right, we got a lot of ships surrounding the Warspite. Surely someone will kill him, right? He's only got about 8,000 health left, whatever it is. That's not really that reliable, though. I mean, a lot of times I'll try and delegate kills to my teammates, just especially as a battleship player, but even as a cruiser player, if you can get targets that you can deal more damage with, in theory, that's better for your team. But a Warspite getting away, popping a heal, potentially popping 2 heals, firing more salvos than he should be able to, that he would be able to if he's dead, you know, those are all problems. So, you know, granted, the Mutsu's pulling forward here. He's the one I really got to focus on protecting myself from, because he was basically pulling forward with an eye of killing me. So I kind of had to pull forward there, which removed the Warspite from the targeting possibilities. But anyway, it would have been nice to get that kill. See, high caliber pops up here. We're just closing in on 110k so far. And, you know, look at the Mutsu here. Now, the Mutsu's kind of weakly armored deck. You can kind of wreck that ship with HE or AP. The Mutsu, it's just not that good at taking salvos, or it's not good at taking sustained withering fire from cruisers in particular, but it's not the most durable ship anyways. So as he's moving around there, you can see he's angling basically towards us. We go ahead and switch back to HE. And you can always make the case when you're just farming damage like this, try and start a fire or 2 first, and then once you get that kind of passive damage going in the background, then you should switch over to the AP. But, you know, these early impression videos, usually I'm kind of testing the shells out in different scenarios, so that, you know, the sequence where the Mutsu was broadside earlier, maybe it was suboptimal. Maybe would have wanted to start a fire or 2 and then switch to the AP, but nevertheless, we're definitely racking up some damage on him. You can see me and my teammates have whittled him down. He's down to about 10k or so at this point in time. Checking out the torps. The torp range is 6 kilometers, so these aren't exactly long-range torps. Basically the same torpedo performance as the York, but the York, last time I wrote it down, I got 68 seconds on that reload. This is 90 seconds, so assuming I haven't tweaked the York build and those numbers aren't incorrect at this point in time, those seem to be much more quickly reloading torps, but it's been a while since I've looked at the York's stats. Anyway, now at this point in time, you know, 4 ships to 3. We got all 3 caps, though. And this is a pretty good example of, you know, we're not really being too aggressive trying to pursue damage. I'm trying to move forward here just to make sure we got ships in our firing range. We don't want to just sit in the back, you know, maybe doing nothing. But at this point in time, with the possibility of them still being able to win by killing us all, we don't want to be reckless either. So rather than being too overly aggressive, charging out there willy-nilly and just trying to rack up the damage, we're still relying on the island cover. They got less than 2 minutes at this point in time, so it's tough to kill 4 ships in 2 minutes. But there's only 1 battleship left. There's 2 cruisers, a destroyer, who, you know, destroyers can get themselves killed very, very rapidly. Let's just be honest. You never know what's going to happen with those guys. The Mayhem does take down their destroyer, though, so that's excellent work there. I would have liked to see that happen earlier in the game, but eventually you got to... I mean, USN destroyers are kind of apex predators when it comes to hunting other destroyers, so he could have done that earlier when we were sitting there in that first cloud. But anyway, Ganai's now we're piling on there. Again, these are all AP shots. These are max range, 15 kilometers, and we're still able to get damage. You know, we're floating these over the island, and I think we're actually going to wind up securing the kill on that Ganai's now. He's out of range now, but we got one more floater coming in, and down he goes. Got some fire damage that ended up killing him, looks like, but that'll take him out there. So anyway, Munchen, as I like to call him, but you guys might want to call it Munchen or whatever, who knows. I would say, you know, I'm enjoying this one quite a bit. This is going to be a staple of my fleet. It's like the Nuremberg, but it's forward facing. It's got the option to play forward or rearward. Nuremberg, you can play forward, but tends to do a lot better if you're more in a kiting position facing away from the enemy. So more versatile, more maneuverable. I mean, there's not a lot that you really can't like about the ship, as long as you understand how to play cruisers with an eye of not taking a lot of incoming fire. Because you saw early on when we took, you know, 1 or 2 salvos, it didn't really matter if we were angled or not. They were wrecking us pretty hard. So trying to pile a little bit extra damage right at the end there, but that's going to do it for that one. So hopefully, guys, enjoyed the look at the Munchen. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. I got lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and see y'all later. Peace.